Good evening. This evening we're going to paint a mama bear, and we'll go ahead and get started. This is on a 12 by 16 canvas. The kits are going to be available on this size or a 9 by 12. And I'm going to start with my background. And I have it's Delta Cream Coat. I've had this paint for quite a while. It's called Palmetto. It's just a light, soft green. And I'm just going to squirt it up here. I'm going to tap my brush in the water and tap it on my brush to soften it. And just start spreading it out and doing the edges while I'm at it. Hopefully I'm keeping that in the camera view. And I'm trying to get a smooth finish on here. I like to paint my sides so that it has a finished look. You don't have to worry about framing it. When I got long sections like this, is that a hair? Got a hair. I like to make some long streaks out there to make the paint looks even. And if I get a little bit on my bear, where I've traced it, now I've gone over it with Sharpie so that you can see it. But I'll be able to see it if I accidentally go over it. But I don't have to worry about being as exact if I do my background first. And do my end over here. May have to go over my end again because I'm not looking that well to see how good my coverage is. You can put this out on your palette and pick it up, but I have such a big area to cover, I just decided to go ahead and do it this way. Try not to put more than a dime's worth out in a specific area. Get it spread out, and then make sure I've got it on there. I am a self-taught artist. I like to do paint parties and paint kits, paint with people. It's a lot of fun. I did not go to college to do art. I did take art in high school, but I don't remember that much about it. I've got some of the things that I made with clay. I do believe my instructor was more into three-dimensional projects than painting. So honestly, don't remember painting in art class. Ever. I mean, I probably did. I remember doing clay. I've got several clay projects that we did. I remember doing the where you make the linoleum blocks you cut. You kind of carve out a design, and then you make the tile and you roll ink or paint on it and print it. And I do remember a few things that we discussed, like grayscale and color wheel, but I just don't remember painting. I didn't start painting until later in life. And I have always enjoyed it since I started doing it. So I've been painting for about 25 years. Since my kids were teenagers. Since I quit taking my kids places. This is a fun project to do with kids. You could put something on there other than Mama Bear. This was a project from around Mother's Day. That's why it's got it on there. You wouldn't even have to put a word on there. I just did because that was what was on the pattern. The original pattern. Now, where I'm getting close around here, I am going to go ahead now and squirt some on my palette. So I don't want as much on my canvas as I was putting, because I didn't want a bunch left over. And I can always scoop it up and put it back in the jar. And you can see that I've got some of the designs traced in Sharpie, and I have some of them just in pencil. And so I'm going to put a darker color on the bear, and I just wanted to be able to remember where I wanted to put things. I'll paint this end. Making sure I don't have any globs on it. Now paint this edge. I always believe that we should finish our edges. Because it costs, last thing I ever got framed, it cost me over $200. That's not in this old girl's budget. So, you can always go back over the edges with a black or a gold. So we've got our background done. You can pick up another color and add to our background, but we're not going to do that this evening. If I decide I want to, I may put, excuse me, I got the hiccups, another layer on it and mix some white in. I brought some white over here to do that and make it more of a mottled background. So I'm going to use, it's called Whispering Turquoise. It's a Americana, a Deco Art Americana. It's a light turquoise blue. And I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush out a little bit so I don't pick up a whole lot of that green. And wipe it out there. And I'm just going to go over this and stay in my line. And go back over it and outline it in black so to help make it pop. This won't take long to do, really, unless we work on the background some more. This is a pretty quick project. If you wanted a kit, it would come traced in the bear. I could just put the word mama on there. You could trace it on later if you wanted mama. If you just wanted bear, or you can go into WordPad and print off another name and trace it. You know, it would be a different font than that one. Or you could hand draw it on a piece of paper and then trace it on. You could paint this, let it dry, and put whatever words you want on there. And so it doesn't have to be mama. I'm going to yell in a minute because my husband's going to ask me if I fed the dog. I think, or he's just going to feed him again. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see a little bit of the marker through this blue. Uh-oh. I can touch that up. I dripped a little bit of green, blue on the green. And with acrylic, you can let it dry. And go back over it. Or we can take a clean paintbrush and get it wet and wet it. And it takes about all the paint off. And then you just dab it. And then you can go back over it with the green paint and give it just a minute to dry. And we'll put a little bit more green paint on there. Very easy to clean up. You don't have to use water either. If you have a wipey, you can use wipey to do it with. Multiple ways to fix your little boo-boos. I have several. Usually during a painting. And that's why I like acrylics. It's not anything that I have to stress over very much. Can't get my toe. There we go. Got my toe. I'm just following the outline. Not putting a whole lot. You can see that my brush is only like halfway full now with all the paint that I've used. You don't glob your paint on there. I mean, I just put a little bit on there. It's not bad. Let me get over here with the green close to the camera. See, I don't put a whole lot on it. Your bear could be a different color. You could do a black bear and go over your, and you wouldn't be able to see your flowers, but these flowers were originally freehand. So you would just, if you had your drawing, you could just use it for your reference about where you wanted to put your flowers and your stems, and just freehand them on there. And there we have our bear painted. Wipe my brush off. And I won't be using the big brush anymore. I'm going to touch this spot up. A little paint, just dabbing it on there. I think it's still got water on it or something. It's not wanting to go on real good. There we go. I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I'm going to use warm white to do my mama. Let's see how dry she is. Needs to dry just a little bit. This would be a good time to take a break, go get something to drink, and I'm going to let that paint move to the top. And what we're going to do very quickly, like I'm going to do with my heat gun, I'm going to dry it. Right. Just enough to be able to put the paint on it. This will only take a couple of minutes. As soon as I see no shiny, it'll be dry enough to paint on. If you paint on it wet, lots of times the new paint will pick up the bottom layer, and then you'll have problems. You want your paint to be dry before you put another coat on it, unless you plan on blending. Then you want it to be wet. You don't want it to be halfway. I'll take a quick look at this and see if it's still shiny. I've still got some shiny spots. Sorry, this is taking so long. Here comes my puppy. He's not going to be. He don't like the sound of the hairdryer or the dryer, the heat gun. Yeah, baby. Did you get your cookies? Daddy give you your cookies? Yeah, go get your cookies. Go on. He gets vanilla wafers for dessert. I would have showed him to you if I wasn't drying. Let me check this. And it is dry. So this is Deco Art also. This is warm white. My regular white's in the other room. I did a paint party and I haven't unpacked my paints yet. But the nice thing is you can use whatever colors you want to. A little bit smaller brush. No words. This is like a number 12. It was white at one time. It's warped. It's still flaking. I've forgotten left it in the water. Excuse me. Burped again. And I'm just filling this in. Might be better to use a round brush. Let's get a round brush. All these curves. There we go. Should have been smart enough to do that in the first place. Let's see what size this is. This is a number 3. It's a really inexpensive one. I got them at Walmart. For my fun paintings, my paint party paintings, I don't use real expensive brushes. I have the Folk Art or Premier brushes that come from Walmart are pretty good. I keep getting my arm on my canvas, which is sticky, and pulling the paint off. So I'm going to have another spot I've got to fix, which is part of painting. I don't know any artist that gets everything right or the way they want it first time. When I'm doing this, I'm pushing the paint out just a little bit further to get it where I want it to be. And I'm not putting it on real thick, because if you put on a whole lot of paint the first time, it just globs. And there are times you want globs, and there are times you don't. And for me, this is one of the times that I don't. Made my hole too little. I'll have to go back and put a little dab of blue in it later and make it a little bit bigger, wider. And that's okay. I want you to see that I am not perfect. I don't believe any artist is. I mean, there's some very good artists. And when you usually finish a piece of artwork, if it is in the style that you like, you have to look very hard to see the mistakes. If you will go into a museum and look at an artist painting, you can find little mistakes. You can find little globs of paint. You can find imperfections. You just have to look real hard and real close. And you're not supposed to do that with art. You're supposed to be able to enjoy it. It is to represent a location, a place, or a feeling. And it's not just a technical process. There is a lot of technical process, especially nowadays. But the majority of art is to make you have feelings about something, whether it's excitement, love, anger. It's just a process. I don't think that's dry enough. I can put another coat on it. I'm going to put another coat on this because can you see the difference between the second, just one coat and two coats? And I'll go back over that in just a minute. We'll go ahead and do the flowers and the butterflies. I'm going to go ahead and paint my butterfly. Trying to decide what color I want. I think I want a yellow. I don't have a bright yellow in here. I don't think I got an apple barrel, sunny day. Oh, squirted out way more than I needed. And I'm just going to fill in these butterflies. And I had traced them with marker so I could remember where I wanted them placed, which you can always do. Or you can always freehand. I'm going to have to go over it with this yellow again because yellow is a transparent paint. A transparent color. It doesn't have a lot of oomph to the color. So it's real easy to see the background. And it might look yellow, but to me it looks a little green. So I'm going to put another coat on it when it dries. And this apple barrel is kind of on the thin side. So, we will go ahead, and I want a small brush. Did I bring a liner brush over here? I want a liner brush. I'm going to use a bright green. This is citron green for my stems. And I just don't need much at all. Now, this is what I squirted out for my butterflies. This is actually more than I will need for my stems. See a big difference? So, you just got to pay attention. So I have a flower here. I've got a stem here. And I've got a leaf. I've got a leaf here. And a leaf here. And I can see these. Where I penciled them out, I can still see them. I doubt if you can see them, but where I'm close to it, I can. So I'm just following these outlines so I can cover them up because they will show unless I go over this and put 2 or 3 coats of paint on it, which I don't want to do. I have a leaf or fat stem down here. I have a big leaf here, which I could use my little brush on this one, but I'll just keep using the liner. A bear is a symbol of strength and wisdom. And bears are very good mothers. They love their babies. They spend a lot of time with their babies, just like human moms do. I'm just making little strokes that push down and pull towards the stem before I pick it up. Make this one a little bit, put a little more paint on that one. Oh, got it in the wrong color. Let's see here. Can you see it okay? Can you see what I'm doing? So I'm just doing my strokes for my, not showing up real good, is it? I thought it would show up better. Let's see, did I have any more leaves on that one? I think that's it on that one. How did I have that on there? Now, they're not going to stay solid green. We're going to put some highlights on them and make them stand out more. Make them pop a little bit. Got too much on there. It's getting ready to drip. There we go. I'm just looking to see if I need a stem anywhere else. I need to fill in this leaf a little bit. I left the middle blue. Okay. So that basically gets our stems done. We've got more work to do on them. I'm going to go back to my round brush and I'm going to start working on my flowers. I have a cactus flower and I have a purple, an orchid. I think I'm going to go with the cactus flower. It's a corally kind of color. A lot of paint there. And I'm just going to make some petals out here. My petals are just little strokes that go into the flower, into the center. I'll make these pink also. And you can push your brush down and make it fan out. And then it will get thinner as it comes back in. Okay. And then I think I'm going to do some orange flowers for the other two legs. And these are kind of like sunflowers. Roll that up, make it a little bit tighter. And this apple barrel paint seems to be a little bit thinner. I've had it a while. I thought it might thicken up. So some of these petals might have to have another coat if you use a thinner paint. I like using Deco Art because it's a good thick paint most of the time. All yellows are kind of thin. And you can put it down there, but you've got to let it, when you put it down thicker, you've got to let it dry longer or use the heat gun on it. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is use the heat gun on these, because especially on my yellow butterflies, I want to put another coat. Let me clean this out. Rinse it out, and let me get my heat gun. This should just take a minute. Now, if you don't have a heat gun, you can use a plate and fan it. It will just take a little bit longer. If you have a hair dryer, you can turn the hair dryer on cool and use that, but you want to blow it away from it for a couple minutes to make sure you get all the dust and the hair out of it. This is a little heat gun I got from Michael's or Hobby Lobby one. I had a coupon probably. Let me see if this is dry. Or you can take a break and go get a snack. These orange ones are still just a little bit wet. Now this heat gun is hot, and you want to not put it real close to your paint because it will melt your paint, cause it to bubble. And you want to move it all the time, so it doesn't just stay in one spot. Okay, I think they're dry enough. Can't find the switch. And actually, do I have another? Let me get, oops, I'm sorry. Let me get this. Well, that's way too bright. That'll work. Let me get this. It's called Tangerine. I think it's a little bit heavier. And we'll use it. It's almost the same color, but it's Deco Art and it's a little bit thicker. And we'll redo these orange ones because that blue shows through. Doesn't take as much paint on the second coat. You can tell a big difference, can't you? But I'll have to let that dry. So we'll do everything but these flowers. That blue was making them really green. Which I was not crazy about. Now, I know there's some flowers that get a green color to them, but not all of them. So I'm also going to take this tangerine and I'm going to tap me around a little circle right here for the center of my little daisy-like pink flowers. And I'm not worrying about whether or not the blue shows through. It's kind of halfway on the pink and halfway on the blue. And then I'm going to color that. And I'm going to pick up some yellow again and go back over these daisies. No, they aren't daisies. Lord of mercy, I'm losing my mind, aren't I? Those are butterflies. Don't they look like butterflies? I hope they do. I hope they look more like a butterfly than a daisy. Whoops, I picked up orange on that one. There we go. Okay. We have our second coat on those. I'm going to do my centers, and I'm going to do them in, I should do them in black. Do I have any black in here? It still might be in the box for the, we're going to use navy blue for the paint party. Whoop. And this is a Michaels brand. Oh, I know what I wanted to do before I did that. I want to do this so it will be drying. So it'll be ready to outline. I'm going to put a second coat on that. Real quick. And lots of times, if I know I've got to put a second coat on, and with craft paint, got a little bit of yellow in it. With craft paint, you have to lots of times put 2 coats on. If you're just painting it on top of each other like this. See, where I painted this and this on white, you really didn't need 2 coats. If you paint a darker color, you usually don't need 2 coats. It's only when you do the lighter colors that you may have to go back and put an extra coat, and that's no problem. because you know where you're going to paint then. And you don't need to be as... You got to be careful, but you don't need to be as careful. Because you know what you're going to do in that spot. And I could have just painted the bear around my word, but I didn't. I really wasn't planning on putting that word on there, but it was on my tracer. There we go. And I just forgot. Okay, now I just wiped the white out of there. And I've got this navy blue. And I'm going to use this navy blue as my centers on my flowers. I'm just going to touch it down there. Just a dot. The original was traced in black. It had black centers and it had black lines on it, but we're not going to do that with this one. So there's our centers. We're going to take our liner now. And we're going to pick up some of our white. And if your white's real thick, you want to put a little bit of water in there. You want to roll it around so that your point is good and sharp. And you have to do that a whole lot. And you're going to put white towards the top of your bear. You come over and you pick up some more. And on the top, and like, I mean towards the top of the bear. So that way you know which side to put the highlights on. On the big leaves, you put it on just a little bit heavier. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And then you're going to put it on the top edge of your petals. And you're just going to put it on the outside edge. Just like that. Doesn't have to be solid. On that one I did every one. On this one I've got a couple stuck together when I do it. And I'm just barely putting the tip of my brush in my paint and I'm rolling it around just to pick up a teeny tiny dab of white paint. You can put your finger down to help you keep your hand steady. I just want to make sure I don't put my finger where I've got wet paint, which would be my orange flowers and my word. And you want to put, in these big centers, you want to put just a little stroke of paint, a little swoosh on the top side of the center. Didn't roll that one. trying to do along the edge of these orange ones, but they're kind of still a little bit wet. I'm going to do some little strokes on my wings. You got to do your stems and your leaves again on this on every part. And if your paint is getting dry, just put the tip of your brush in the water and work it into your paint just a little bit. What I mean is, like, I just put a little, I didn't even put my brush just where I had the paint in the water, and just work it into my paint, just that part that I've got in my, that I used in my paint, and roll it back around so that my paint doesn't dry completely out. And I'm going to put some little small marks on my centers, just like a little tiny comma or a little dot. Takes very, very little. Get going over here. This is the long process. Whoop. Got carried away with that one, didn't I? Oh, but that's okay. You can't really tell. I'm just putting little swishes around my stems. Around my petals and my leaves. Whoops, I missed those. Haha. I'm getting anxious to get done. Whoop, put too much on that one, but that's okay. You can use a smaller liner brush if you've got one. Gotta go back and get this one. I skipped it. There we go. There. And I'm going to put a couple little swooshes on this butterfly up here on my wings. There we go. And we have the highlights done. Now we're going to use, since I don't have my black with me, we're going to use the navy blue. We're going to put it on our liner like we did. And you'll want to turn your canvas when you do this, but we're going to outline our bear. You can use a paint pen if you have one. You don't want to use a Sharpie, you want to use a paint pen for this. And you want a fine point to do it with. It doesn't have to be perfect. The first line you want to get as close to the edge as you can. As close to your outline. And while you're down here on this part, you want to outline the bottom of your leaves in the dark paint and your stems. Doesn't have to be a solid line, can be multiple lines. You want to put a few little black lines under your petals. Put a little black outline on your center. And these are just little tiny, they're not solid all the way around it. They're little broken lines. Doesn't have to be solid. Let me show you on these. See, I mean, they're just little marks around it. They're not, you're not tracing it. The only thing you're going to trace solidly is right around your bear. I'm going to put a couple of little outlines on my butterflies. Just going around here, putting a few marks. I'm doing it just like I did the white, just barely rolling it on the tip of the brush. Making some marks right around the petals. Nothing big. And the black just kind of makes them pop. And you really don't have to. You want to do the white for certain. But you really don't have to do the black if you don't like it. But I think it helps the flowers pop out and show up. Especially like if you're not right up against it. Another thing I want to do is I want to put some little dots out here. Got that done. I don't know if I trace this or if it's just got that little canvasy mark. Now, one more thing you want to do while you're working on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and trace the bottom of my head because I'm going to turn this around. But I want to put some little, oh, that's got a blob on it. Just some little marks out here. I call these wind lines. I don't know why. It's like how the wind goes around, or the edge of the spirit of the bear. And then I'm going to turn it over. And now that I've turned it over, I am going to make this bigger, like I wanted it in the first place. Okay. Let's see. I might make the other one just a little bit bigger, not much. Here we go. And I'm going to start tracing my mama. And I'm going to put my finger down where I know the paint is dry to help me keep my hand from shaking. And I'm just going to go around the edge of the white. Now you can also, again, you can use a paint pen to do this. Or you can use a smaller liner. And if you used a dark color, now I'm going to since this is wet, I'm very carefully go around this so that I don't make a mess. Got lucky, I did it right. If you painted it like you painted this the navy, you really wouldn't need to trace it if you used a dark color. But you can see the difference in the letters that are not traced and the letters that are, how it makes it pop. Makes them stand out better. So if you do someone else's name and you use the lighter color, then you want to make sure you trace it. You can use a Sharpie if you will like spray it with a matte top coat, and then you can trace it after that dries. But I recommend trying it with a brush. It will teach your hand to be steady. And there are days I can't do this. If I have too much pop, too much caffeine, my hands will get shaky. And it will look awful. So sometimes I have to wait. Not had a whole lot today, so I'm not doing it too bad. And I just try to use that line to trace it with. Just that edge. It makes it easier. I put like a fat dot there. Just pulled that over some more so that it would not stand out too much. And I just do it as I can. And I did it before I did my outside just so that I wouldn't accidentally stick my hand in it. Now I'm going to put a couple little marks on my butterfly. Like that. And then I'm going to trace the rest of my bear. Put a little water in that. It's starting to get dry. I picked up just a drop of water. Mix it where I have my paintbrush in it. And you can tell it's getting dry when it like drags and leaves like a lot of light marks. Like the paint's not going on there real good. And it usually just takes a drop. There we go. Now we're going to put some of our wind marks around it. There we go. And we have our bear completely finished. Turn it over here like it was so you can see it all. The only thing that's left to do is put your name on it. And here comes my son.
Hi.
Hi, honey.
Can I borrow your car again tonight?
Yes, you can. The keys are in it.
Tried calling you.
Oh, I'm videoing.
Oh, okay.
Be careful.
Oh, not yet. She's
Oh.
not even off yet. I just want to ask in case it was before you went to bed.
Oh, okay.
She went to bed. She closes tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the keys are in it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did you order the part for yours?
I don't have a debit card that works right now. I have to get a new debit card. Mine broke.
Oh, okay.
And I made the mistake of going to the bank and telling them I need a new debit card.